Welcome to the Measure Success podcast, where we talk with top leaders about effective strategies that inspire success. I'm very excited to have with us Jeffrey Klubeck. He is author, has an agency. Has the integrity game. He has been crushing it. We've been actually having so much fun in our pre-talk that I'm like, hey, we got to start recording this because we've been having such a good time. And so I'm going to get into just something right away. And this is, you are doing a super cool project with your daughter.
Yeah.
And you're just saying beforehand, I'm getting so excited. The hair is raising the back of my neck because I'm just so excited about this project that you have with your senior daughter, who's in high school right now, getting ready to have that scariness, right, of leaving the house. And here you've done these author things, and you're trying to find a way to connect, right, and to do something different, but also actually care. So tell us about this book project that you're working on right now,
Yeah.
and what got you into it. And I think people listening, you're going to find this really inspiring.
Well, first of all, Carl, thanks for having me on. It's nice to see you again. And this isn't our first conversation. It won't be our last. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me on. And thank you also for asking me about like the most important thing in my life, which is my family, right? When it's going to be hard to get through this without tearing up a little bit. But like when people ask me, Jeff, what do you do for a living? What do you do? Never mind how silly a question that is. Anyway, I wake up every day and I figure out how I'm going to deserve my wife and kids. That's the first thing I do every day. That's what I do. I'm like, what do I need to do today to feel like I actually deserve my wife and kids? Because I'm a lucky dude. Okay. Now, as lucky as I am, anything involving marriage and parenting equals sacrifice, commitment, compromise, and all of it. Right. And my daughter is strong, right? Because my wife is successful corporate and I'm successful entrepreneurial and a professor and all the dynamics. And so we're kind of a type A family. And so my daughter and I have butted heads a lot, and she's strong-willed. She's got a fast processor, and she's got a quick and sharp tongue, and she's beautiful. She's smart. She's funny. And but she's my daughter. She's emotional like I am. She's empathic, incredibly intuitive, empathic, etc. So I smile when I imagine watching her and I have a conversation like my wife and my two sons have to all the time. And kind of we can take over the house going back and forth. And I'm trying to instill maturity, like, let's sharpen this saw. Let's shave some of the coal off the diamond, like dad. So you can imagine teenage stuff, right? And she's right so often, and I apologize to her so often, and I thank her so often. But that's all context and background for she is a senior. She is getting ready to go away to school. She's not staying local. She's not. The world's too small for her. She's going to like New York. We're crossing our fingers she gets into Fordham. So we're in this phase that I've coached other people through, the separation anxiety phase, where we know deep down we're about to like seriously, figuratively cut the umbilical cord. And this is my baby girl. And I'm watching my wife struggle with it emotionally, but like my wife's not in personal professional growth. I am. So what can I do? And it's organic the way it came. I've written 4 soft skills books that are called, it's a series, Get a Clue in 52. And the idea was just that I'd be able to, it's tips, 52 tips spread out across 5 categories. And it gives me an opportunity to get online once a week and read a tip and spray it to social media and then get the recording and have a conversation afterwards and repurpose stuff, marketing. Right? So my commitment to myself was that I have this lofty, I can't call it a goal, but I have this lofty vision of doing 10 in 10 years, 10 Get a Clue in 52 books in 10 years. So I've done the first one, which is kind of communication-based, personal, professional growth, more general. Then we did the entrepreneur edition. We did the coaches edition. This year, we're finishing up the last couple of tips and reading the speakers edition, Get a Clue in 52 for speakers. I've had co-authors invest in these projects with me and come online with me and read the tips. 2 of my 4 soft skills books have had co-authors, but I got to get them done by the end of December because I want the hot book in my hand for the first week of January so I can start reading tips online, right? I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? I don't have time to talk about a co-author here. I'm running. So what am I got to make it easy, but it's still got to be good. And what I settled on was what I call Klubeck snacks. And very often my wordsmithing, my phraseology, my communication skills, my ability to summarize a bunch of stuff in a digestible little nugget has been commented on or complimented, or people will say, hey, Jeff, wait, slow down. Can you say that again? Ooh, that was good. Or right. So this thing emerges called Klubeck snacks. Right. And obviously I'm playing on Scooby-Doo, but Kluby and my last name Klubeck. And I like to have a lot of fun with myself. And that's part of my style, is to be jovial and dad jokey, and even, right, it's Trojan horse, laugh people's way to the learning, and humor is a better way to get attention than statements. Questions and humor are better than statements, right? And so I said, all right, I'm going to do a book of Kluby snacks. And then when I started to assemble them all and gather them so I could start the process of finding the best snacks and what are the 5 categories going to be, and oh no, I'm too close to this because I wrote these and I live this every day, but will other people understand, and all the stuff, right, that you go through in trying to organize and get your arms around content. I thought, well, my daughter is brilliant. My daughter's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. She's got more followers on social media than I do because she does influencing. There's packages showing up to our house all the time of these people that want her to wear the tank top and, eat the food and on video and here's your affiliate link. So my daughter's amassing thousands of dollars that she can't even access yet because she's not 18. But I'm thinking, God, Kluby Snacks is more like TikTok than LinkedIn, right? But there's a generation, and I teach at San Diego State, I'm in front of 18-year-old. I got 88 college freshmen this year that are away for the first time. They're homesick. They're mentally health challenged. They're dealing with social media, all this stuff. And so they're looking for, they can't talk to their parents. We don't understand our own kids, but they are looking for personal professional growth. They are looking for something real. They are looking for something meaningful. They are in the conversation way more than we give them credit for. And I wanted to give my daughter credit and validate her and let her know that I want her help, that I can put myself in a position to look up to her. I can validate her skills, her talents, rather than just grow up all the time. I wanted to give her a different message. I wanted it to be constructive. But my thought going in was just, hey, will you help me get this down to 52? But in her process of reading them and getting it down to 52, I said, all right, did you pick the 52? She's like, yeah, I can write about this one. I can write about and all this dialogue starts coming out. And the way that the book, I thought she was going to pick the 52 and then I would write about them. But what's going to happen, Carl, she's doing journal writings. And it's like stream of consciousness, journal writings from the heart. And all these stories are coming out and all this stuff that I never knew was getting through. And there's a lot of healing and there's a lot of validation. And my eyes are wide open. I can't believe how smart she is, even though I know how smart she is. And then I'm starting to think like, oh my God, this is just low-hanging fruit for me to get my Kluby snack book done. But oh my God, we can change daddy-daughter relationships. We can help parents. We can help young girls that are struggling to figure out how to communicate with parents. We can let parents know, guess what? Your kids are listening. There's just different ways to go about the whole thing. And so I'm head over heels thrilled with this project. Now I got to stay on her, of course, so she's busy. Come on, we got to write more snacks. Now I can't go back because if we don't finish by the due date, then I got to anyway. So I got to stay on her, but she's into the project and she's excited to read the snacks out loud to my wife. And you know what I mean? Like she's in it and it's just the most rewarding, it's fun. It's connection. It's excitement. I can't wait to see what she's going to write. It's therapeutic. It's validating. It's all this stuff, but it's also personal professional growth. It's also my business. It's my livelihood. It's my job. So I can keep going on and on about that. I really can't wait for the Kluby snacks to get out into the world. And it's funny because it started off, Carl, Kluby snacks were originally what I branded my wife's homemade cookies. My wife's got this incredible recipe for homemade cookies. And I used to ask her to make batches of Kluby snacks. And because I wanted to I'm cool because I'm going to give you cookies, but my wife, right, I was riding her coattails. So my wife's not emotional. She's not expressive. She's not a writer. That's mine and Abigail's job. But I said to her the other day, I said, Marianne, would you write the foreword for the book? And she's like, I'm like, no, just give me the recipe for the Kluby snacks. It'll say foreword by Marianne, and it'll just be a recipe for the cookies. And then it'll get into the snacks. And then my daughter came up with the concept for the cover design, where there's cartoon versions of both of us on the front. And she's like, Dad, I want my cartoon. You have a cartoon. I've always wanted a cartoon. You better make sure I have a cartoon, right? Just to show right here, here's an example. Here's my cartoon, and Sue Matheson, my co-author on the speaker edition. But she's like, no, it'll be us on the cover. We'll both be holding a tray. There'll be cookies on there, right? And Kluby snacks, bite-sized and delicious motivation. So it'll be cookbook themed. And all of a sudden I lost it. I'm like, oh my God, passing down the family recipe. Now it's legacy, and now it's transition, and now I got chills all over, Carl, right? And this is her coming up with this and visualizing the whole thing when I just asked for a little bit of help and validated her and put her in a position to be productive and respect her intelligence. And it's just such a better way to communicate than clean up your room or you're not leaving this house.
That's
If
awesome.
you're talking about strategies, right? Because everybody's got genius inside, and we got to tap in.
That's a great story, and I appreciate you. I have 4 kids, and coincidentally enough, you don't know this, my youngest is also named Abigail, and
I didn't know.
And so, and it was a tough thing for us and our 4th one going about, and she, she did not stay local at all as well, and matter of fact, actually all 4 of them, went off. So only one's come back so far, and but it's grateful, we get to see and travel around and get to see them doing what they do, and it's special, right, to be able to keep that connection, with your kids and invest that time with them, but recognizing that, we're not always going to connect on every single thing that's out there, but finding ways to connect, I think is super valuable, and that's what's so neat about how you've been able to put your work, and how you're impacting the world and help bring your family in with it.
Well, I play it's integration.
Yeah.
I play the integrity game. The idea is, why have all these things floating around not cooperating with each other? Let's integrate. Let's bring the right things together. And just to speak to your brand promise to your marketplace, we're talking about strategy, right? Mm-hmm. Why say go to bed when you could say it's time for bed? Do you want to race upstairs? Do you want to walk by yourself, or would you like me to carry you? And then so the strategy is to give them choice. So they're making a decision, but what they don't see is that the non-negotiables at bedtime.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
Now, yep. Right, and they forget that part when you give them the choice, and they lean into their choice, and next they're going to bed. So, right. I'm trying to keep my responses to your questions focused on strategy to integrate with your brand promise to the marketplace, but we're off to a great start. Thank you for asking me about the most important thing in my life, which is being a great father and feeling like I deserve my wife. Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what I loved in our first conversation that we had in person, or not in person, but through the Zoom, is the integrity game. And you mentioned this comment earlier. You said, hey, it's more of a Trojan horse, and there's a reason behind it, which I really appreciated you saying, because I'll say this, we all have the problem of doing what we say we want to do, which is, some people would define as integrity, right?
That's one of the answers we get.
Right. It's one of them, right? There's many different answers.
No. But, by the way, real quick, there's 2 answers that I always get when I'm doing keynote. I want you to finish your question. Yeah. When I'm doing keynote and public speaking, it's my favorite thing. Yeah. By show of hands, how many of you believe you have integrity? And 100% of the hands go up. And then I get to float my joke. All right, keep your hand up. If you raised your left, please switch to your right and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear not to shoot the messenger. And then I get the laugh, but then I say, hang on, let's make sure we're talking about the same thing, because I'm not here to offend anybody. What is it? And when I set it up that way, I always get the 2 answers. One is the one that you just said, be your word, do what you say you're going to do. And I'll let you finish your question unless you want the other answer.
No, do the second one. Just go for it.
Okay, real quick. The second answer I get is, do the same thing when nobody's watching as you would when somebody's watching. Or do the right thing regardless of who's watching. And you're nodding, right? Because this is familiar to us. This is what we're aware of. But isn't it fascinating that we got balloon hand right away if I ask how many of you believe you have integrity, but when I ask what is it, the answers are judging other people. You weren't your word. You didn't do the right thing. You're inconsistent. How can you? So one of the things I want to do from a Trojan horse perspective, to get back to your question, is I want to take the judgment out of it. And integrity game is a Trojan horse to get us into the land of accountability. And you and I both know that accountability will always feel like an attack when we're not ready to be 100% responsible for our behavior, even if we said we'd pick our nose at 4:00 and we didn't pick our nose at 4:00. Doesn't matter. How we do anything is how we do everything. I didn't mean to interrupt your question, but you've got me on fire, Carl.
No, I love it. And it is one of the reasons I appreciate bringing this up when we are working with organizations about core values. Mm-hmm. I don't know, this is a guesstimate, 80 to 90% of the companies out there have integrity or some form of integrity in their core values. And then, of course, I'll ask them, so how do you
embody that?
Validate?
How do you actualize that? How do you measure that? How do you know if you're doing it or not? I'm sorry.
Right. No, you nailed it. And then even worse, the worst part behind this is, okay, so you've got integrity. And if I have a question with you and you say you lack integrity, just like you did with your talking where you're speaking in an audience, that's like calling your mama a bad name, right? Because everyone thinks they have integrity, but then I don't even know why we say it. It's like this honor. It's almost like I believe in my country. You know, I mean, it's one of these things we say because it's like it seems wrong not to say it. But when we actually are truthful,
Mm. You said
fully transparent and truthful,
the T word.
we are rarely have full consistency with our words and actions.
Yeah, and 100%. So there's a couple of things that you're setting me up to comment on. Number one, we want to be very careful with our word choices. Anything that feels pressed upon is going to automatically press back. I don't know if you've ever seen the exercise where put the two hands together and press as hard as you can onto one hand on the count of three, and people like in their veins are popping from their forehead, and the facilitator like, I didn't say press back, and the people go, what? And they realize in that moment that I'm spending all of my mental forefront of my brain energy telling push, 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 push. I wasn't saying resist at all. But resistance was automatic for anything that feels pressed upon. So if we don't know that, and we just, you're out of integrity or you lack integrity, hang on, we know what we mean, but they know what we said, and they have ego defense because they have feelings too. And this is a very sensitive jam, right? Let's step back for a second and imagine a world where accountability was non-threatening. What would be possible? Right. So I know I'm biting off a huge jam here, but let's go for it. One bite at a time, like the elephant. So I'm going to laugh their way to the learning. I'm going to keynote it. I'm going to call it the integrity game. I'm going to create a 10-point model. I'm going to make it actionable. I'm going to create questions and invite you to answer them. I'm going to run a 90-day challenge. I'll write the book. I'm going to chip away and chip away and chip away and chip away and chip away. Now, here's what's interesting, Carl, and this is what we all need to understand. You said another thing, right? The consistency is really like consistent. I'm not saying be consistent. I'm not saying be perfect. I'm not saying be anything other than a human being, right? What I am saying is, and then there's another subtlety. It's one thing to say you lack integrity, but if we're being very careful with our word choices, we could easily say, hey, Carl, you are a fantastic person that I want to spend as much time with as possible. And on this particular commitment that you've made, or on this particular expectation that you have set, you have not integrated your word with your behavior.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And that,
Yeah, it's. I love what you're saying there because it does what we learned is when you can tie how you define integrity or any other core value for that point, and you could tie it to behaviors that are meaningful for the organization, then all of a sudden you could have a discussion. Yeah. Right. That's not, once again, making them feel like you called your mama a bad name. Right. Yeah. You know, you're not going to get in a fight over it. You can actually go, you're right. I said I was going to turn that document in on time. And one of our key behaviors is we turn all our documentation in time. I got that late. I violated one of our key behaviors, how we define integrity.
Yeah, and you still want to be careful about I violated or you violated, because we're going to provoke the defensive reaction. I'll try to strategically. I'll try to make it an invitation. Hey, Carl, can you update your word on that?
Right.
No, I just wanted that to sit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was role playing
because literally it's funny. The screen froze for just a second. I was was really powerful because your screen froze.
No. I froze because it's really powerful, right? Hey, can you update your word on that? This is what you said. Clearly, can you update your word? That means update what's instead of saying you violated or you're out of or you lack, I'm inviting them to update their word. What's true today? Because what you thought was going to be true when you made this expectation isn't true today. I don't need to say it's not true or you lied or you're out of, or I stay away from that stuff, right? So back to the, anything pressed upon is going to automatically press back. But what if we align? Now wherever one goes, the other one's coming with. So I'm always seeking engagement. I'm always seeking rapport. I'm always seeking the trust that I need to have more options on the words that I'm going to use to knock on the accountability door. And even if I said, hey, as a matter of integrity, which we all know we all have, can you update your word on this? Right. So it just seems to me, it came to me over the course of my career that I've got something and I still don't even know what it is. But
Hmm.
everybody raises their hand right away if the topic is integrity. But nobody wants to get involved in the accountability conversation. So I'm Trojan horsing.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant, and it is a great way, because once again, you go back to is people do want to, once again, um, I believe in my country, raising my hand, right? I believe in freedom, raise my hand,
Yeah.
and I believe I have integrity, right? Raise my hand, and it's almost like these, once again, these truths that we believe that we are doing consistently, and but when we can get there, right? It is really, when you live and breathe once again as an individual and doing it right, it's so much more peaceful, right? When you're staying consistent. But then as an organization, when you can get a whole organization to start being consistent, once again, I use that term,
Yeah.
with how they say things and doing them consistently, we wonder why people get frustrated. And they get frustrated often because of the most simple of things, is that once again, we don't do what we say we're going to do.
Yeah.
Or we ask people to do things that are not meaningful, or we don't ask them what they care about, right? And it's these type of pieces. I was in a meeting yesterday, and it was awesome. There was like, people were like, well, is there anybody who's just said, I'm just working for money? And it's like, of course, because only 30% of people are engaged, according to Gallup.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, of course. But part of the reason why is, as employers, we're not asking why they're working for money here.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah,
so I went
that's
with somewhere big there. I mean,
that's employers are too focused on their bottom line when that'll handle itself if they focus on their employees. Are you ready? Bottom why?
yes, exactly.
What's
You
your
nailed it.
what's your
Right. What's your why?
what's your bottom why?
Right.
Like, hey, we're so focused on bottom line profits, we forget the human element: engagement, motivation, accountability. Those are the three pillars to my leadership. And if I'm training coaches or delivering coaching programs, it's learn how to get people engaged, learn how to get them out of their own way into action, and then learn how to create willingness to be counted and account, right? And so the integrity game is born in the land of accountability, right? But yeah. You touch on something that's really, really important. But like, oh man, it's easy to feel bad for the 30%, or I'm sorry, the 70%, right? What a miserable existence if you don't enjoy what you're doing, because now the problem here is ego defense and living autobiographically. The person who's not engaged isn't showing up to work
That's right.
truthful and transparent, saying, like, let me role play this one. Good morning, Carl. I don't want to be here. And I'm miserable inside. And I'm selling my soul and I'm trading my hours for dimes just to keep a roof over my head, but I'm dead inside. I swallow my pride at work, and then I go home and I vomit on the dog, and everybody sees it, and I don't like myself, and my family doesn't like me, and I entertain myself with mindless TV or mind-altering substances, or endless weird conversations, whatever it is. And instead of being honest with you about all of that, I'm going to complain that you're out of integrity. That, oh, this word integrity is on the wall, but I'm going to go to the water cooler and find some misery loves company and complain about all the BS around here at this company because they say integrity, but they pulled me off my desk to have me at a meeting that I had no business being at. It ran late. It started late. It ran long. The wrong people were there. The right people weren't supposed to be there. It was more of a S rolling downhill or a hot potato or a pass the buck or a propaganda session than a productive meeting. And then it was really frustrating when I was being yelled at for what I could have been getting done if I was just back at my desk doing my work. But no, I'm at this meeting that I shouldn't be at, getting yelled at for not doing the work that I could have been doing. And all these stories and all of this drama and all this toxicity and all this complaining and finger pointing at everybody else, when what the 70% aren't doing is taking responsibility for themselves and making sure that they go to work every day in a place that's going to light them up, make them happy, and celebrate their gifts and their strengths and the potential and so forth. But people would rather accuse others of being out of integrity than take responsibility for playing their own game. And the joke of it is, like, Carl, when did like procrastination become becoming? Like, well, I'm such a procrastinator. Oh, I procrastinate a lot. Like, why do people just like say that as if it's like okay? It's not okay. You're like we dumb these terms down, and you're lying. Like anyway, so like what I'm getting at is integrity then becomes like parenting or driving, in that we consider ourselves to be really good, but everybody else sucks.
Oh boy, yeah. That's and boy, it's funny. It's funny you said that you're talking about your daughter Abigail potentially going to New York City, and I just drove in New York City this past weekend, and I remembered how hard it was to drive in New York City, and it was a lot different than driving in Oregon. I'll just say that,
Oh
and it
yeah,
was right in the city. And it's like, oh, you mean I can't turn right on a red? It's like, no, that's illegal here. Like, oh.
yeah.
I can't do that. And of course,
but go over to New Jersey because everything's legal in Jersey, right? No, I'm joking. That's the joke, right?
But it's funny. I was the night before I was in this cab, and he was going. There was no rules. He just found the open spots and braked hard and went for it. So I try to. He was basically like Mario Andretti, and so I try to follow him. Except the problem is I had 5 people in the back of the car in a Ford Explorer that I never driven beforehand. And so anyway, sorry everyone
Yeah.
who was in the back of the car with us during that trip.
It's,
But let me go deeper on this.
yeah.
On
By the way, I call that Klubeck diving. When we go deeper, I call it Klubeck diving. Just so.
Thank you. So here we are. So we're
Yeah.
scuba diving right now. Okay. You said something there that let me just touch on that procrastination thing, because I'm going to say something deeper here where in this, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to say it. In a work setting, if somebody's procrastinating, I would make an argument. We've got people in the wrong spot, wrong seats in the bus. Or we haven't helped them figure out why they're doing it.
I got a frame on procrastinate. Did you pause
Yeah,
it because
please.
you're ready for
Yeah,
me?
let's talk about this, because I'm such a fan of, like, I'm a kind of a Clifton Strengths nerd and Gallup certified strengths coach.
That's great.
And I'm a big believer in, like, hey, there's a reason why I've got this big block of books right next to me of authors who've turned their books in, but it's like I haven't put them away yet because it's like a small task that I don't want to do. Right? Is putting back into this and organize these shelves there, even though I'm a ranger. But anyways, it's a small point here. The point is that often when things are not happening, there's a reason behind it. But go deeper, like, do your Klubeck diving here. Why is that true?
Okay. Well, first of all, let me appreciate and admire your like corporate perspective on this. Right seats on the bus, talent war, etc. Right sizing, on and on. Because I spent most of my career in small and micro business, solopreneurs, etc. I'm evolving. The integrity game is taking me into different areas, and so I'll be smarter in those conversations with you in 3 to 5 years. But my point is that I'm setting up to the focus on an individual. Yeah. Right. So you're saying when procrastination occurs in the workplace, it's because the leadership doesn't, talent management, staffing, team building, all of that. Cool. Okay. I'm talking about one-on-one. If you're procrastinating, I got 5 jams, right? Number one, and try to make it funny, right? One of the reasons you may be procrastinating is because you don't know how to do the damn thing. Okay.
That's right.
Right. You don't know how to do it. And so very simply, learn how to do it or delegate it to somebody that knows how to do it. That's 1. 2. All right. Maybe you know how to do it, but let's be honest. You suck. You suck at it. And so you're afraid you'll screw it up, or it doesn't make you feel good when you do it, or you're not good, like golf, right? It never stops me. I suck at golf, but I keep going because it brings up my third reason, right? By the way, if you're not good at it, guess what? Get good at it or delegate it to somebody who's good at it. You see a theme here, right? Third, you know how to do it. You're good at it. You just don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Been there, done that. Doesn't excite you. Doesn't float your boat. Doesn't raise the hair on your arms. You're good at it. You know how to do it, right? Right? Like writing. I know how to write. I'm pretty good at writing. I don't always love it. I don't always enjoy it, right? Anyway, so find a way to like it. Like grading papers. Oh, when I'm grading, it's tougher and tougher and tougher. I tell the students, if I have to spend more time grading this paper than you spent writing it, we have a problem. Okay. So anyway, I used to grade papers where literally I would drink beers and put the headphones on and listen to the Red Hot Chili Peppers while I'm twirling my red pen around, right? I would tell my whole family, hey, I've got the headphones on. Don't startle me. I won't hear you coming because I literally have to get into my own head. And I would tell my students, I'd say, hey, look, I don't like grading papers, especially if you don't follow instructions. That's why I give you the templates. That's why I give you the resources. That's why I make myself available. That's why I'm on Sunday night office hours. That's why you got samples in your packet. That's why, because I just want to see it and say, yeah, perfect. I don't want to spend any time grading. That's why, and I tell them, I'm honest with my students. I say, I drink beer when I grade. I don't as much anymore, but I'm talking about like last decade, I used to drink beer. And the joke was so funny. I say, hey, some of your papers are going to get graded on the first beer. Some of your papers are going to be graded on the third beer. Yeah, and then once I got the laugh, I move on. But I'm like, hey, help me help you. I do not enjoy. I'm good at grading, yeah, but if what? Anyway, don't enjoy it. Done it, know how to do it, good at it. Done it for 2 decades. Don't enjoy it, right? But then the one more or 2 more peels to this onion to go a little bit deeper is a 4th reason. And by the way, find a way to enjoy it or give it to somebody that loves it. Like, hey, I'll grade your papers. I remember one time Abigail was like, "Ooh, I'll grade papers." I'm like, what? She wanted to sit in judgment over college students older than her. I'm like, no. I appreciate the help, but no, that's not the right motivation. Okay. My daughter's amazing. All right, 4th reason on procrastination. You don't have to do the thing at all. And you haven't been honest about that. There's been no permission structure either internally or externally, because a lot of times people will emotionally addict, like people are emotionally addicted to stress and overwhelm and worry and obsessive, and that's the culture that they're in. I have to. So there's all these I have to. I'm like, hey, whoa. I've actually asked my wife this at times. Which one of your arms is going to fall off if you don't do that right now? Because we're about to sit down as a family for dinner, and it's only going to take like 30 minutes to connect as a family. So which one of your arms will fall off if we can't sit down and have a family dinner right now? Tell me. Tell me more about this have to. So we're believing that we have to do something, but we don't. It's just the belief feeds the emotional addiction to stress, overwhelm, obsessive, worried, and so forth. And then the thing gets procrastinated, because if we did the damn thing, then where would we get our fix of obsessed and worried and overwhelmed, right? And then of course, you're just not. The 5th reason is you're not. I mean, not in no particular order, right? But you're not the right person. You were back to what you were saying. You're not the right person to be doing that. Okay, yeah, it needs to be done, but you're a $400 an hour person, and that's a $35 an hour task. So tell me again why this is on your plate, and why you're hanging on to this, and not letting go of it, right? And so we have to be honest. That does it have to be done at all? Against all of our other priorities? Is this an emotional I have to versus a practical I want to, right? Which is oxymoronic in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel the circuit breaker there? An emotional I have to versus a logical I want to. Right. So that's a Klubeck snack right there. So that's my take, the Klubeck diving on procrastination off the top of my head.
Okay, so we got to get to our brass tacks here. We got just a few more minutes left on our podcast timing. I'd love to ask the question. So now, how you measure success with your clients today in your business?
Oh, I'm not going to answer the question the way you asked it, but I don't measure success, ... until they define what we're measuring. The clients, right? The clients have to be held accountable, hugged accountable, play the integrity game. And you tell me, client, what's your vision? What's your mission? What are your objectives? What are your quarterly goals? What counts as success? What are your KPIs? Why is that the KPI? Are you committed to measuring that? What counts as a below average, at, or above average measure? It's the hardest thing in performance management, is to get leaders to focus on the improve, retrofit the position description, right? Retrofit the position description so that you can study it to imagine what are the key performance indicators. What do I have to measure to understand if this person's doing below, at, or above average, right? And so it's a dance. It's an invitation. It's I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I'm hesitant to just jump right in and start measuring success. Right. Until we get agreements on what counts as success and what is going to be measured. And we want to make sure that with our decision on what's to be measured, that there's a commitment to measuring it because it's integrated with vision, mission, objectives, right? Rather than just a fluffy, flowery, beautiful word on a wall that people see when they walk into the building. Where do our values, where do our, our principles live and breathe? And what's the performance, the measurable performance that would allow us to declare if we're below, at, or above the ideals that we've established for ourselves. So, and by the way, I'm a communication guy. You can tell I'm an emotional guy. So I'll do everything I can to avoid the numbers myself as long as possible. Right.
Sure.
So if I don't know if that makes sense, but I want to hold
No,
people accountable to really, really, really understanding what do you want? Why does it matter? What are you willing to do to get it? What's preventing you? What are we measuring? Right. And so then it becomes easier if we can do all of that hard work. Oh, do data entry, must be able to type 60 words a minute. Sounds like they should be able in an 8-hour shift digitize 12 files. So if they do, I'm just making this up, right?
Sure.
It gets objective and it gets simple if we get the hard stuff, the emotional stuff, the ego defense, the autobiographical thinking, the pass the buck, the stuff rolling downhill, the hot potato, the blame game, the politics. We get all that stuff handled, then 1 + 1 = 2. It always has, it always will.
Mm-hmm. What's the one habit that you developed that was a game changer for you to have higher integrity?
Well, before the habit, I'll say just a commitment. First of all, just being honest with myself and not being really happy with everything I saw when I looked inside. I mean, it's really cool, Carl, to be the integrity game guy and have my name associated with integrity. Like I looked up to Simon Sinek and when he popularized Start With Why, and I'm like, well, why not me? I'm going to popularize integrity. I'm going to be when people type in Jeff, there's going to be integrity. When people type in integrity, there's going to be Jeff. That's my vision. But that's not because I'm the guru, the expert. That's not because I'm consistent all the time. It's not because I'm perfect. It's not because I'm anything other than human. So the truth of the matter is, I want more integrity in my life. That's how this whole thing came about. I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better business owner. I got work to do, and I'm just inviting the world to play with me. So that's one piece of it. I don't know if that's not the full answer. Remind me the question again, because I had another thought.
I was just kind of curious and once again, we only got 2 more minutes. So
okay.
What is it? Like, did you asked
strategy.
What strategy that you changed?
This is it. Accountability is always going to feel like an attack when we're not ready to be 100% responsible for our results. So just like in the time that we've got left, and this is very Klubeckian, right? Replace statements with questions. Every chance you get, convert that bad boy into Jeopardy, right? In the form of a question, please. Because a statement is always a confrontation. Usually a statement confronts somebody's sense of self. And just like flinching at the fly when it's buzzing by our ears, even though it's a fly and not a bee, or slapping ourselves silly when we walk face first into a spider web, even though the spider's not around. Right? Yep. We are instinctually hardwired to fight or flight when any emotion comes along or any information comes along that contradicts our sense of self. So my statements are confrontations that are likely to trigger some ego defense and some posturing and some smoke and some mirrors. But if I can ask a question, I go from confrontation to invitation. Carl, you and your listeners are invited to play the integrity game with me.
So what is, not one of your own books, but what is a book that really transformed yourself or your understanding in this particular topic?
Easy. The Road Less right off the top of my head, The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. Right? It breaks down discipline, love, and grace. Right? So discipline, we're talking about dedication to reality, find yourself on the continuum of mental disease and make a commitment to get close to center if you can. You know what I'm talking about, where you got the character disorder on one side, doesn't take enough responsibility for anything. And then the neurotic on the other side who takes too much responsibility for everything. Can we get back to the middle, please? Right? So dedication to reality and the right level of responsibility, 100% self-responsibility, discipline, being able to delay gratification, do what's necessary and difficult first, then you enjoy. I teach my kids to eat the oats and the Lucky Charms before the marshmallows. Like, don't throw a bowl away of all oats that are soppy and nasty because you picked off the marshmallows. Eat all the oats first, and then guess what you're going to have? Yeah, a bowl full of just marshmallows, but you're going to enjoy it so more because you did the work to eat the oats. Delay gratification, do anyway that, and then love, the willingness to be vulnerable. And, love isn't possession, love isn't dependence, love is risky, confrontation, all the stuff, and then grace, knowing when to surrender. Knowing when, hey, you know what? I don't have to control this. I don't have to freak out. What am I afraid of? Let me trust. Let me have some grace. Let me have some surrender. Let me be rooted in and elevated by a higher power, whatever we consider that to be. But M. Scott Peck, The Road Less Traveled, is like a personal professional growth Bible for me.
All right. So final question here. Or two, the one is going to follow up where people can connect with you, but get 30 seconds. So now how do you measure success in your personal life?
It's really about, I pay attention to how I feel when I wake up every day. Like I said, I wake up and I figure out how I'm going to deserve my wife and kids. And I pay attention to, am I excited about the day? Do I want to lay here? Do I want to hit snooze? Like, every day that I don't want to hit snooze, every day that as soon as I wake up, I'm out of bed and going, I'm winning. Right. And then the other thing too is I try to disassociate, speaking in general terms, but like if you're a baseball fan at all, baseball, they play 162 games, right, in a regular season. So if they go 82-80, it's a winning season. Mm-hmm. So if I exercise 4 days a week and not 3, I'm ahead. You know what I mean? Like I want to be doing the right things. I want to be above 500. And over time, if I'm 4 days on, 3 days off, well, after, 4 weeks, it's 16-9 all of a sudden, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or 16-12. You know what I'm a communication guy. Yeah. So over time, that adds up. So I don't try to be perfect. I just pay attention to how I feel. What are the emotions I'm experiencing? Who do I get to hang out with? Am I in love with what I'm working on? Do I want to stay in bed, or can I not wait to get out of bed and go attack? Those are the things I pay attention to on a daily basis in my life.
How can people connect and learn more about you?
I'm easy to find for, search Jeff Klubeck and The Integrity Game. If you go to theintegritygame.com, our website is being developed. We're building the arena. So /arena for our membership site. You can join for free and get free copies, PDF copies of my books, and everybody's eligible for 2 complimentary coaching sessions with an Integrity Game certified coach. If they mention your show, I'll probably want to do those sessions myself instead of dole them out to a coach that I've trained. You can email me, jeff@getaclue.net or jeff@theintegritygame.com. I'm growing, but I still answer all my social media. So if you connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or anything like that, and DM me, you'll hear from me. No bots or no assistance yet. I still respond to all of my social media communication. So I'm really easy to find, and I can't wait to hear from anybody in your ecosystem, Carl. It's always a treat to speak with you.
Hey, thank you so much for being a part of the Measure Success podcast. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Carl.
To our listeners listening, I hope you enjoyed the show. Encourage you to subscribe and reach out to Jeffrey about what he's doing in the search. It's awesome. Great conversation we had today. I look forward to our continued relationship that we have. And as we like to always tell to our audience, I should say, is wishing you the very best and measuring your success. Have a great day.